Hi everyone, it's Louise from Louloupurple. Today I'm going to show you how I did my art journal page number 7. First of all, I cut a circle from a piece of acetate and I'm using a temporary glue dot to stick onto the back of the acetate and then stick it onto my page. Now I am using my Adirondack ink pads, which are water-based, so any type of water-based ink pad you can use in the same way. I'm just loading the ink up onto a big paintbrush which I picked up from my local paint shop, and then just brushing the ink onto the paper and over the acetate. Next I am using a piece of cut and dry foam and I'm just applying the ink onto the edge of the acetate and just gently moving some of the ink over the edge of the acetate. I am now removing the acetate and the glue dot from my paper. Now I am going back in with the yellow to cover up some of the whiteness of the sun. Next I am using a Tim Holtz stencil and my cut and dry foam and just going in with the ink over the top of the stencil. Next I am using a VersaFine ink pad which is oil based, and I am using this to stamp my fairy. Now I am using a piece of acetate which I cut a hill shape out of, and I'm just using my cut and dry foam to add the ink onto the paper. Here I am using my corner punch to round off my corners. I am now using my heat tool to make sure all the ink is dry, and I then use my distress glaze over the top of the whole of my picture to make sure that the water-based inks are waterproof. Next, I am using my Ice Stickles, which is a glitter glue, and I'm just using it on all the fairy wings to make them glittery. For my next picture, I'm using my distress inks and my blending tool, and I'm using a piece of acetate in the same way for the sun. I am using my heat tool to make sure that all my ink is dry. I then use my distress glaze again over the whole picture to make my water-based inks waterproof. Again, I am using my Ice Stickles all over my fairy wings to make them glittery. For my next picture, I am using my Deco Art metallic paints, and I'm just using 2 different colours and blending them in the middle. I leave that one to dry, and I am now working on my 4th picture with my distress paints, which I'm just adding onto the paper and blending with my fingers. Now that the paint is dried, I am using my archival ink pads, which will be permanent over the top of the paint, to stamp my images. Again, I am using my archival ink pads over the top of the paint so that it will be permanent. I am taking some pages out of my art journal, and then I am sticking some of the pages together with my matte medium. Once this has dried, I then use my white gesso to prime my pages. After this has dried, I then use my distress paint and blend it with my fingers. Next, I matte and layer my 4 pictures. Next, I printed off some words on my printer which you have to flip so that they're in reverse, and I'm using my matte gel to stick the paper onto my art journal. I then left this to dry. Once this has dried, you then add some water to the paper, let it soak in, and gently use your finger to remove the paper. I still haven't mastered this technique. As you can see, my letters have all started to bleed and the paper isn't all coming off. I wasn't happy with the fact that I could still see the white paper, so I used my distress paint to cover it up. Once the paint had all dried, I then used my black Faber-Castell Pitt pen to go over the letters. I made a mistake on one of my letters, so I just added some more distress paint over the top, dried it out, and then redid my letter. I then used my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue to stick all my pictures onto my art journal page. I I am now using my Pitt pen just to add some wiggly lines along the border. I then add the date. I then use my fixative spray to seal my whole page. I did this outside. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Links to my website, Facebook and more will be in the description below. Thanks again for watching and I hope you got inspired.